Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim. Oh Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna, the ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O goddess, showerer of the nectar like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the 17th Adhyay of Shraddha Vividhāḥ Yoga. And Sri Krishna has started telling us about that great mystic, the threefold formula, the Om Tat Sat. And Sri Krishna said this Om Tat Sat is, in fact, which is a designation of the Brahman itself. Each and every word of this triad, the Om Tat Sat, it designates Brahman. The Om designates Brahman. It is, after all, it is another Brahman. Tat, it represents Brahman, and Sat, the eternal absolute existence, the reality, represents again the Brahman. And Sri Krishna says, uttering Om Tat Sat, whatever evil effect, whatever ills one can, gather out of the karma that one is doing, that can be eliminated. And Sri Krishna says, Om Tat Sat iti nirdesho brahmana trividhāḥ smrutaha brahmanastena vedascha yajñāsca vividhāḥ puraha. That was in the 23rd Shloka that we read that. From this Om is representation of the Brahman itself. And from this Om Tat Sat, from this Om Tat Sat have arrived all the Brahmanas, the hymns, the scriptural texts which are embedded in the Vedas, the Brahmanas, the Vedas, and even the sacrificial rituals. They have sprung up from Om Tat Sat. And in the 24th Shloka that we read that, Sri Krishna says that every karma we do, every act that we undertake, everything that we undertake, before that utter Om, and that will give the sanctity, that will give some kind of a purity, that will bring in purity, and that will ward off the evil effect of the karma which otherwise is inherently going to come to the performer. Sri Krishna said, Tasmado mityudarhutya yajñatapaḥkriyāḥ. Whether it is yajña, the sacrifice, whether it is dana, whether it is act of giving, or whether it is a tapaha, whether it is the austerity, any of these kriyas, any of these actions one is performing, one should always start by uttering Om. Om Tasmat Om iti udarutya. Having uttered, having chanted Om, one should start any of such activities, whether it is sacrifice, whether it is austerity, whether it is giving alms, and then pravartante vidhānoktaha satatam brahmavadinam. That each and every act is then as if done, enjoined by the scriptures. Pravantante vidhana uktaha. As if all the duties are then converted as per the scriptural injunctions, having uttered the word Om, having uttered that mystic syllable Om, having uttered Om Satatam Brahmavadinam. And this is constantly done by the followers of Brahman, the followers of Vedas, the follower of the ultimate knowledge. So Sri Krishna told us about the greatness of Om among Om Tat Sat. Now Sri Krishna is going to tell us about the Tat aspect of Om Tat Sat. Sri Krishna says, tadityanabhisandhāya phalaṃ yajñatapaḥkriyāḥ dānakriyāśca vividhāḥ kriyante mokṣakāṅkṣibhiḥ. Tat iti anabhisandhāya. Anabhisandhāya is anabhisandhāya phalaṃ, without aiming at. Abhisandhāya means to desire, to have a motive. But anabhisandhāya, the anabhisandhāya is without aiming at, without having a motive of. Motive of what? Phalaṃ, the fruit, what I'm going to get in return. And when one utters tat iti anabhisandhāya phalaṃ yajñatapaḥkriyāḥ, without aiming to get anything return while doing the acts of yajña or tapa, while doing the acts of sacrifice or austerity, dānakriyāśca, and also the giving of the gifts. Now these three primarily, these three aspects which are to be absolutely done in selfless manner, still some kind of selfishness remains attached. Sri Krishna says these three, the yajna, tapa and dana, and therefore he has in details he has explained to us about the satvika yajna, rajasik yajna, tamasik yajna, about the satvika tapas, rajasik tapas, the tamasik tapas, and also same thing with the gifts, the satvik gift, the satvik dana, the rajasik dana and tamasik dana. So Sri Krishna says that any of these acts, whether it is yajna or tapas or dana, whether it is a sacrificial, ritualistic act, or it is an act of austerity, or it is an act of giving alms, then after uttering Om, one should utter Tat. One should utter Tat. Now, who is benefited out of uttering this Tat? For Om, Sri Krishna said that it is the Brahmavadinam, the knowers of the Vedas, the highly knowledgeable, those who have realized the ultimate knowledge. This uttering Om automatically comes to them. And the Tat, that mokṣakāṅkṣibhiḥ, those who strive for liberation, the kind of mumukshu category of people who are striving for getting out of this cycle of birth and death, those people, mokṣakāṅkṣibhiḥ, those who aim at getting liberated, getting nirvana, getting the ultimate salvation, for them, Tat is the word which comes handy. For them, Tat is the word which takes them afar, which takes them to the stage of liberation. So Sri Krishna says that is the power of the word Tat. Like Om, if it takes one to the knowledge of the Vedas, Tat takes one to the aspiration of getting liberated. Tat iti anabhisandhāya phalaṃ yajñatapaḥkriyāḥ dānakriyāśca vividhāḥ kriyante mokṣakāṅkṣibhiḥ. While performing yajna or tapas or dana, when one utters Tat, that leads one to start aspiring for liberation. That makes one takes one towards the path of liberation. But all these things, they have to be, even the Tat has to be uttered without any motive for the fruit in return. Only then, when these actions are undertaken, the actions of yajna or tapas or dana, then uttering tapa, then uttering Tat, without any motive to get anything in return, performing these actions, they take one to the path of liberation. Uttering Tat without aiming at the fruits, are the acts of sacrifice, austerity, and various acts of gift performed by seekers of moksha. That is what happens after uttering tat, while doing any of these activities. Now, these are the symbolic activities for that matter. The yajña, the tapas, the dana, the sacrifice, the austerity, the giving gift, the charity, alms giving. These are all the symbolic activities. Sri Krishna says this has to be done in every activity that we do, not just limited to the three that Sri Krishna has told. That should be brought in all the kriyas. And then that action that we do, that helps us taking the path of nirvana. The word tat refers to Brahman. Now, all the three words for that matter, Sri Krishna has told us, they designate Brahman. Om designates Brahman, tat designates Brahman. Now, when we are starting any activity, if we keep in our mind that this activity belongs to Brahman, and therefore I utter Om, therefore I utter tat before starting any activity. Why? Because it is not my activity. It is the activity of the great Lord. It is the activity of that great primal entity, the Parabrahman, the Paramatman, the Ishvara. And I don't, the ownership doesn't belong to me. Ownership belongs to the Brahman. Ownership belongs to one who is represented by Om, the Nada Brahman. One who is represented by the word tat. When we get that kind of feeling, when we get that kind of understanding, the realization that it is for the Brahman I am going to do this, whether it is yajna or whether it is tapas or whether it is dana or whichever activity for that matter, when I am doing it as an instrument in the hands of Brahman, that can only be brought in, that fact can only be brought to realization by uttering Om, by uttering Tat before we start the activity. While undertaking a karma, the thought should be invoked that it belongs to Brahman. That is the thing. It is not my work. Even if I am doing a sacrifice, even if I am doing austerity, even if I am giving a gift to some deserving person at a deserving time and a deserving place, it is the Lord's activity. It is the Lord's way. Even the best of action done for oneself can bring some evil attached to it. The best action. Say, for example, the soldier fighting war for the right cause, for the dharma, the dharmic yuddha, like what Mahabharata is going to be there now. Now, killing somebody is an evil act, no doubt about it. But then, killing a wrongdoer for the cause of protecting the dharma becomes a pious act, becomes a holy act. The sin attached to the act of killing is no more attached when a soldier kills an enemy soldier in the war of dharma. Now, when a person before starting the war utters Om Tat Sat, what is happening? The ownership is already Lord's. This war that is being waged to protect the dharma is at the order, at the command of the Lord. I am just an instrument. So when that idea of instrumentality comes in, when we are offering everything at the feet of the Lord, when we are offering every act of ours as the deed of the Lord, no ill can get attached. And from that perspective, no ill can be undertaken also. When it is done in the Lord's name, when it is done as an offering to the Lord, when it is done as a command of the Lord, then no evil, no wretchedness, no illness gets attached to it. Now, he who submits himself as an instrument in the hands of the Lord and carries on a deadly and disaster war commits no sin. Because, first of all, that person, that warrior is doing it for the right cause, doing it for the just cause, doing it to eliminate evil from the face of the earth. So, the entire process of killing somebody takes totally a different form. Freed from agency, freed from the feeling of I am doing it, freed from that ownership, he realizes that all actions belong to the Lord. And whichever action that person performs, not just limited to yajna or tapas or dana, whichever action that person performs, thinking, understanding, realizing that it is the act of the Lord, it is for the Lord, it is for at the command of the Lord, then just utter Om Tat Sat. So Om, Sri Krishna has told us in the 24th Shloka, Tat Sri Krishna has taught us just now. And this is how, after uttering Tat, before starting any activity, before starting any act, that leads one to the path of liberation, to the the meeting, going back to the Brahman. So Jivatman becomes part of Paramatman. That process starts, that journey starts. Even if one might have strayed from that journey, but if one starts uttering the syllables, the mystic syllables, Om Tat Sat, automatically the entire orientation of the work gets changed. Even if it is an evil act, it gets converted. It gets converted into a pious, a holy, a righteous act. And under that spell of the Om Tat Sat, the doer can never do anything evil. The doer can never do anything wrong. The doer can never do anything unrighteous. And when he cannot do anything unrighteous or evil or wretched thing, automatically that person gets onto the path of liberation, and mokṣakāṅkṣibhiḥ he becomes, she becomes. So that is the power of Tat, of this triad, of this holy trinity of Om Tat Sat. Sri Krishna has explained in this 25th Shloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.